Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's edition of the Sunday Wire. I'm Patrick Henningsen, your host. We are streaming out live at 21stcenturywire.com. We're also on Rumble, YouTube, Facebook Live, X, as well as BitChute on all those live streams. And then afterwards on the audio podcasts as well, you'll find us there. Again, I'm your host, Patrick Henningsen. The story that we will be focusing on today, self-explanatory. You guys have seen the news. You've seen what happened. It's world-changing. And we'll be joined after the break in Overdrive by our teammates, as well as possibly a few drop-in guests. So we'll see who comes on to help with the commentary on this. But in the meantime, we do have a major world-changing situation. And really, the title of the show is The Sum of All Fears. And the unthinkable has happened. Israel has initiated, with the United States, jointly initiated an unprovoked war of aggression against Iran. And this was always on the cards. So make no mistake about it, this is not happenstance. This didn't happen as some catastrophic error. This was pre-planned by the United States using its proxy Israel in order to initiate a series of events that will probably culminate in the use of a nuclear weapon against the Iranians. So this is the sort of cycle that we're in right now, unfortunately. And everybody has to really understand exactly, the role that their country is playing in all this. And if you're watching this from the United States, you are obviously in one of the most propagandized information markets on the planet. So you're going to be told that what's happening right now is that Israel's been threatened and they have a right to defend themselves, and Iran is harboring a secret nuclear weapons program. Israel's been saying that since 1995. Since 1995, Benjamin Netanyahu himself is the author of this talking point. This was in his book in 95, and constantly using this to shape U.S. policy. Okay, so this is merely the excuse. This is the excuse. What we have here is a somewhat complex situation geopolitically. But the best way to just clearly iron this out for everybody. And hello to everybody in the chat room and the comment threads. We'll get to you guys in Overdrive with some of the comments. I appreciate your engagement on this subject. But so the underlying question is Israel a tool of the Anglo-American Empire, or is it a case of the tail wagging the dog, that Israel is running U.S. foreign policy? And the answer is not one or the other. The answer, and this is why it's complicated, the answer is both. What's true is that both are the case. They are absolutely running U.S. foreign policy. Yes, all of the congressmen and senators in Washington, bar a handful, maybe I can count them on one hand, in both the Democrat and the Republican Party, that aren't controlled by the Israeli lobby. But Israel acts in the long-term interest of what the rulers of the United States and the transnational elite have believed, and have believed for the last 250 years. First with the British Empire, then with the American Empire, and then the creation of the State of Israel gave them a beachhead in the Middle East. And they're not finished. It doesn't even end with Greater Israel. What you're seeing now is a regime change war. And just based on the exchanges, and we'll show some of the footage shortly, but just based on some of the exchanges that have happened, this is only the opening gambit. This is going to be a potentially long conflict. It could simmer for a little while. It could sort of, the temperature could go down a little bit. There could be some crisis negotiations, and then the shooting begins. Because you can be sure that Israel is not going to give up on their ambitions of a greater Israel and the total annihilation of the government in Iran. And the United States wants this as well. They want to annihilate and to destroy the country of Iran and then rebuild it, and then use it as a base of operations to attack China. That's the long-range plan. They want to disrupt and sabotage the Belt and Road Initiative, and Iran is a very important part of that. And also to prevent Russia from building a trade corridor to the Indian Ocean. At all costs, the British and the Americans want to prevent Europe from coming together with Asia overland. Because when they do, it cuts the Americans and the British maritime power, geopolitical power, the Anglo-American geopolitical maritime trade routes, etc. It cuts them out really, takes them out of the driving seat of the global economy, and they won't be directing affairs at that point for the planet. They become another pole in a multipolar world. And overthrowing what they call the, quote, regime in Iran is an important part of that. And they'll use all sorts of excuses to get you to buy into this agenda, like this is a clash of civilization, Islam is not compatible with the West, et cetera, et cetera. There's all sorts of talking points that they'll continue to use to basically manipulate the public into accepting this sort of what's coming. And what's coming is, and we'll look at some of the quotes and statements shortly as well, but what's coming is the use of nuclear weapons, either low yield or high yield, against Iran by the United States. This is absolutely coming. Or by Israel. And this is going to shock some people when it happens. And when you're talking about Benjamin Netanyahu, when you're talking about Israel and sort of the types of people that are backing President Trump, okay, these are ruthless, absolutely bloodthirsty, evil people. These are the worst of the neocons, okay? They are in control right now, and they are driving the U.S. and the world towards World War III. Make no mistake about it. That's what's happening. That's what you are seeing unfold right now. The conventional exchanges, and you can see some of the footage on screen here. This is a live stream from Al Mayadeen, the damage in Tel Aviv and in Tehran. So the Israelis and the Iranians are exchanging, trading missile and cruise missile and bombs. Israel's carrying out targeted assassinations in Iran. They have massive amount of subterfuge, clandestine, hitmen, etc., all over Iran. And they're taking out one by one members of the government in a very deliberate fashion. This is what Israel and America call decapitation. This isn't about the nuclear program. It's not. The U.S. intelligence themselves have said that Iran does not have a nuclear weapons program. Tulsi Gabbard herself said as much at the end of March. And did everyone notice where's Tulsi Gabbard about this so-called intelligence? No speeches, no tweets, nothing. She's gone AWOL. So, I expect a resignation from Tulsi Gabbard. If she had any integrity, she would resign in protest and start speaking to the public to try to calm down this madness. That's one choice. The other choice is she thinks about her future career, and she keeps her mouth shut and stays in the job in hope of the next promotion, or that somehow, the Trump administration is going to rule over the ashes of humanity after this is all finished, because you don't know where this is going to end. The United States has taken the side of Israel in an unprovoked war of aggression against Iran, while the U.S. was carrying out negotiations, they pulled a bait and switch on the Iranians. Donald Trump, Steve Witkoff, and all these other sort of shysters that have come together in this administration. Absolutely shameless. And we'll take a look at some of their sort of output on. I mean, this. I'll just give you an example. Obviously, some commentary as well by Daniel McAdams. But so here's Donald Trump throwing up some crazy stuff on Truth Social. I mean, I'll take Sleepy Joe rather than unhinged psychopathic Trump as my geriatric problem for the country. I almost think Sleepy Joe is in many ways safer than the sociopathic, unhinged Trump. I don't know who writes this stuff, but let's take a look at this. Daniel McAdams, executive director of the Ron Paul Institute, says, is anyone else tired of his insane lies and weirdness? He already said he was in on the plan for Israel's attack on Iran, and now he is pretending that he had no idea. He said, the U.S. has nothing to do with the attack on Iran tonight. If we are attacked in any way, shape, or form by Iran, the full strength and might of the U.S. armed forces will come down at levels you have never seen before. However, we can easily get a deal done between Iran and Israel and end this bloody conflict. So Israel has started the bloody conflict. And Donald Trump's clearly taking, you can't do negotiations when you're fully backing one side. You can't pretend to be facilitating negotiations. And Donald Trump has threatened the Iranians with annihilation if they don't come back to the table and sign his deal. That's not negotiations. That is mafia, fascism, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. That's what that is. This is not diplomacy. This is not politics. This is something else. This is worse than sort of colonial Europe, okay? This guy thinks he is the emperor. He's talking completely unhinged, and it's an embarrassment, but it's beyond an embarrassment to the country. Donald Trump is dangerous. He's dangerous for America, and he's dangerous for the world. Make no mistake about it. That is what you are actually facing here. This guy is dangerous, okay? Him or whoever's handling him, if that's what they're thinking, what you're seeing on screen there, that type of language, totally nonsensical, then, you know, we're all in trouble, basically. Donald Trump will use or back the Israeli use of nuclear weapons to supposedly stop Iran from getting nuclear weapons. Israel has a full nuclear weapons arsenal, and they refuse any inspections or any oversight from the international agencies. Have done for decades, and it's an open secret that nobody is allowed to talk about, and yet they're wanting to enforce some kind of zero enrichment of uranium standards on the Iranians. Doesn't make any sense. Well, it does make sense if you're dealing with complete dishonest criminals. And that's kind of like what you have here. They're really showing themselves for what they truly are, these people. And I could show you another so-called truth. I mean, it's kind of a laughing stock that the president would name his own platform Truth Social. There are more lies on Truth Social than you could possibly keep track of on any given week. It's kind of a joke, but that's the sort of Orwellian, kind of reality that Trump is in here. And he put up one of his so-called truths as well, and I just had to comment on it because I thought to myself, did Donald Trump write this, or was this from his parody account? Because I couldn't tell. It was just insane, completely unhinged, completely all over the place, like it was written by like a 13-year-old as a kind of a joke. So I thought, this can't possibly be the president of the United States. It really It really can't. And by the way, since when is the United States doing foreign policy from a social media platform? You know, don't they do press conferences anymore? Trump is all over the place. He's changing his positions every sort of 12 hours. I mean, this is crazy. So I just kindly quote tweeted here, "Dear Donald Trump, is this post yours or from your parody account?" Because I honestly, I really can't tell. And this is what the dear leader says. He said, "Iran and Israel should make a deal." If somebody attacked the United States, do you think the United States would be running to make a deal with them? No. You don't make deals when people declare war on you. Take out your top political leadership, your top military generals, and strike at your nuclear facilities with no evidence. And even if they had nuclear weapons, Israel is still not justified in attacking in this way. They were in negotiations, and we'll show you how fake those negotiations were. And so he's saying Iran and Israel should make a deal, and will make a deal, just like I got India and Pakistan to make. In that case, by using trade with the United States to bring reason, cohesion, sanity into talks with two excellent leaders who are able to quickly make a decision and stop, all caps, exclamation mark. Who writes like that? Also, during my first term, Serbia and Kosovo were going at it hot and heavy, and they have for many decades. And this long-time conflict was really ready to break out into war. I stopped it. Okay. He doesn't talk about the fact that Kosovo is a fake state that was created with NATO holding a gun to Serbia's head. See, that's you know, if Trump could actually grasp that little tiny vignette of history, which isn't that long ago, you know, maybe 25 years ago, I think there would be hope. I would say there would be hope. Say Donald Trump sat down for 5 minutes, and maybe they did a nice kind of, you know, high school colorful PowerPoint presentation for him, or maybe got Pete Hegseth to do a type of Fox News segment for him, because that's how you should brief the president. Just do the briefings like they're Fox News segments, and have Pete Hegseth, you know, presenting it. Bring in the music as well, and, you know, a couple of the outnumbered girls with the short skirts. And that Trump would get that. You could really, I think you could explain history to him by doing it that way. I think that's a great idea. I think that would be beautiful, beautiful briefings, big, beautiful briefings, big, beautiful briefings for our president who needs learning aids. Okay. He didn't stop the war or stop war between Serbia and Kosovo. They're still at loggerheads, Donald Trump. So what the hell are you talking about? And anything that was being exacerbated was done so at the behest of NATO. Those of us who actually know, please, you know, stop pretending like you know what you're talking about. And he says, Biden has hurt the long-term prospects with some very stupid decisions, but I will fix it. Again, explanation mark. This is completely stupid. Here he goes. Another case is Egypt and Ethiopia and their fight over a massive dam that is having an effect on the magnificent, big, beautiful river, the Nile. This is big, beautiful river, says Trump. There is peace, at least for now. Peace, at least for now. So, like, if people don't attack each other, he'll take credit for it, because he'll claim that he made a phone call. It's just ridiculous. Do you want me to do a master class for the president about the Horn of Africa? How much absolute CIA sabotage, just dirty wars, one after another, between the British and the Americans and the Israelis? Do we want to talk about that in South Sudan? Do you want to get into it? Oh, I'll go all the way back to the Suez. We're all the way back to 1956 and come to the present day. Trump doesn't have the attention span for that, so forget it. But maybe he could like have some intelligent advisors who understand these things and appreciate the history. Maybe. By the looks of it, maybe not. So he says, there's peace, at least for now. Ridiculous. Likewise, we will have peace soon between Israel and Iran. Really, it's looking good. Many calls and meetings are now taking place. I do a lot, and I never get credit. What kind of pathetic comment is this from a U.S. president? I never get credit. I mean, gosh, people are calling him a narcissist, and he is acting like a narcissist, like an overgrown child. I hate to say it, but, you know, I thought the Democrats jumped the gun on Trump with Trump derangement syndrome, but he's actually manifesting all of those things that they pilloried him with from 2016 forward. He's become that caricature that the Democrats were projecting on him. He's actually become that ridiculous, stupid, overgrown man-child. This guy is dangerous, and quite frankly, I'd be confident. Well, I'm not going to say replace him, because the person who replaces him could be even more dangerous. You've got J.D. Vance, who's like, what, 40, 42? He's a child. You've got a child as vice president, doesn't have any experience about anything, who goes on Theo Von's podcast, and that's a serious media opportunity for our vice president, and talk about what? So J.D. Vance will be completely controlled if he assumes the reins of power. So that's not looking good either. We are in bad shape, ladies and gentlemen. I can tell you right now. I do a lot and I never get credit for it, says Trump. But that's okay. The people understand, all caps. All caps. Make the Middle East great again. Okay. You know, Trump makes a big deal. He boasts about how he never drank alcohol. But he could probably use a drink, actually. It might calm him down a little bit. Might take the edge off this complete, unhinged caricature of himself, a parody of himself. Again, is he using his parody account here? I can't tell. It's very hard to tell. So that's where we're at, folks. It's not ideal, but it is what it is. This is where we're at. We're looking down the barrel of World War III, and we've got a completely unhinged president, doesn't know what he's doing, and really probably doesn't care what he's doing, or whether it doesn't care if what he's doing is right. You know, just an inability to self-reflect in a way that I've never seen in any human being in my lifetime. I mean, it's like a comic book character, but even comic book characters have a through line of logic that you can follow through the story. Trump has no through line. He's all over the place, this guy. So, you know, that's what we call it the sum of all fears. That's the show graphic today. This is the show graphic for the sum of all fears. Donald Trump is the weakest president in the history of the United States. And when you have a powerful country like the United States and you have a very weak leader, disaster follows. Not just disaster for America, but disaster for the world. And right now you have the weakest president in the history of the United States. Joe Biden had more fortitude and backbone than Donald Trump. And by the way, again, Biden had the excuse that he had dementia. What's Trump's excuse? Apparently he doesn't drink. Apparently he's compos mentis. Is he just an ignoramus? Is he insane? Has he got a clinical psychiatric condition that we don't know about? I mean, what's his excuse? This is dangerous. He's, instead of pulling Israel and telling them to back off, because Israel was the aggressor, not Iran. The United States' role should be to calm the situation down, to prevent World War III. Instead, he's throwing all his support behind this war criminal, Netanyahu. The guy, Netanyahu, is in the dock in the International Criminal Court, indicted for crimes against humanity. The evidence is overwhelming. Now, Trump might ignore it. Fox and the other governments in the pocket of the Israeli lobby, they might be ignoring this. But then you look at the international courts of justice that takes whole countries to trial, and they're in the dock for genocide. And the evidence is overwhelming. And these people want to pretend that it's not happening and then blame the Iranians and call Netanyahu is calling Iran a genocidal regime, if you can believe that. I mean, honestly, what can you do with these people? What on earth can you do with these people? We'll show you another little ditty from Netanyahu. This is sort of a choice clip here. And this guy has the temerity to sort of, throw Bible verses at us. And I'm like, okay, excuse me very much. So you're going to lecture us, what, on Christianity now, Mr. Netanyahu? So here he is. Basically, he did this television address calling for the Iranians to rise up and overthrow their government, the usual stuff, which is failing miserably. If anything, he's united Iran like never before. And so here he is. We'll give him a little bit of airtime here. And I can't believe he said this, but it's we'll play it. We'll let him hear this for himself. We'll just actually, let me just go in here 1 second and have a look at that. Yeah, this is ready. There he is. There he is, folks. That's the guy. That's the guy. Listen to what he has to say. Let's listen to him.
The hardest decision any leader has to make is to thwart a danger before it is fully materialized. Nearly a century ago, facing the Nazis, a generation of leaders failed to act in time. They were paralyzed by the horrors of World War I. They were determined to avoid war at all costs, and they got the worst war ever. They adopted a policy of appeasement. They closed their eyes and ears to all the warning signs. That failure to act resulted in World War II, the deadliest war in history. It claimed the lives of 60 million, including 6 million Jews, a third of my people. After that war, the Jewish people and the Jewish state vowed never again. Well, never again is now.
No, Netanyahu, you genocidal, criminal psychopath. Never again is happening in Gaza, and you did it. And you're trying to gaslight the world that somehow Iran is actually guilty of a future genocide, and so you must unleash the hell on Iran and possibly drop a nuclear weapon, either tactical or full-blown strategic nuke, in order to prevent them from doing something that you have shown no evidence that they actually have, which is a nuclear weapon. This guy is a criminal sociopath that's been running this kabuki theater skit for the last 30 years. We put up on screen 20 different times. He's publicly declared that Iran is, weeks away or months away from a nuclear bomb since 1995. This scam. Okay, this guy is a liar. He's a criminal. He's a war criminal. He is the worst. These are the worst people on this planet. This guy. And it says a lot about Washington, D.C., that he's worshipped as a hero in Washington, D.C., like a god. He's worshipped. He's the king when he arrives in the Beltway. This pawn life. We'll go on. We'll give him another minute.
Today, Israel has shown that we have learned the lessons of history. When enemies vow to destroy you...
There's going to be a lot of pauses, even though it's a minute left, because this guy lies and says the most audacious things every couple of seconds. You haven't learned the lessons of history. You haven't learned the lessons of history. Look what you've done to the native Palestinian people. Look what you've done. Look at Gaza. Do I have to put the images up on screen of a desolated landscape? You dropped more munitions on than Hiroshima and Nagasaki combined. Okay? You haven't learned the lessons of history. You haven't. Including when Moses came down from Mount Sinai. Remember that? You haven't learned that lesson either, clearly. What would Moses say if he came down right now and saw what you did, what you've done to the Palestinian people? What would Moses say? Fair question. As you're quoting the Bible, BB, giving us lessons in theology, that's a fair question for you. We'll let you continue.
Believe them. When enemies build weapons of mass death, stop them.
So this is a guy that's been meting out mass death for the last 20 months with no remorse whatsoever and blaming the Palestinians for blaming them for, he's saying, it's not our fault. It's Hamas's fault. This guy is a deception, a liar. These are the worst people in history.
As the Bible teaches us, when someone comes to kill you, rise and act first.
That's interesting. The Bible, is that what Jewish people call their holy book? Do they call it the Bible? No. They call it the Torah. They call it the Torah. But you're calling it the Bible, BB, because you're broadcasting to the Christian or Christian Zionist audience in the West. That's what's happening here. The Bible. And the Bible says, rise and kill first. You're giving us this vengeful God, the eye for an eye. Rise and kill first. But you don't read the Bible. You don't even read the Old Testament. You don't even read the Torah. Don't make us laugh. Clearly, Christians in the West who you're talking to, most of them have adopted the New Testament. And the teachings of Jesus Christ don't say rise and kill first. Because if you apply that to any situation, it's going to be a very ugly and chaotic world, which is why the New Testament caught on. It was a reform to the Old Testament. Not eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, vengeful God, rise and kill first. No, those weren't the teachings of Jesus Christ, and I don't need to get into it. But I'm just saying this because we're being lectured about Christianity by a war criminal, trying to manipulate Western public opinion. This guy is one of the biggest forked-tongue soothsayers in history, an absolute pathological liar. This is rise and kill first. That reminds me of this. Oh, that's Ronan Bergman's book, Rise and Kill First. This is Ronan Bergman. He's Israeli. He is the court scribe of Mossad. And he wrote this book, best-selling book. I think this was probably published a few years ago, maybe 2018 or something like that. And basically it shows this is the doctrine, along with the Hannibal Directive, where you kill your own to make sure that they're not taken hostage. Totally ruthless. Targeted assassinations, etc. These people they just kill and kill and kill. This is all they know how to do. They believe that they have to make their way through the world by killing everybody. And if they're in negotiations, they'll kill everybody that they're negotiating with. And sadly, Donald Trump has adopted this doctrine, which is kill the people that you're negotiating with. And then go to the world and say, we'd love to make a deal. And this is the Israeli sort of, scam, if you will. Oh, we'd love to make a deal, but so we just don't have any competent leadership to talk to. I mean, the Palestinians, they just don't have any leadership. We don't want to annihilate them, but we sort of have to. Begrudgingly, we have to, because they just don't have any political leadership. They're just incompetent. Because you killed all of them. Rise and kill first. And here he is, basically lecturing us in the West to try to get some of these soft-skulled so-called conservatives in the West to buy into this BS, to get World War III on. That's where you're at with this guy. It's pretty rich of Netanyahu. Anyway, we'll round this out. I mean, it's very hard to go through this continuously without pausing.
This is exactly what Israel has done today. We have risen like lions to defend ourselves. Over 3,000 years ago.
So a preemptive strike to defend yourself against something you have no evidence that's threatening you. Oh, the evidence is I say they have a bomb. So if Benjamin Netanyahu says they have a bomb, then they have a bomb. Okay.
Moses gave the people of Israel a message that has steeled their resolve ever since. Be strong and courageous, he said. Today, our strong and courageous soldiers and people stand together to defend ourselves against those who seek our destruction.
This guy is too much. He really is too much. He's going to go down in history. He's really going to go down in history. Netanyahu. What a beauty. I can't play the rest of that clip because it's just so outrageous. We're going to take a break right now, and we'll try to connect a couple of our special guests. We'll be back in just a few minutes. I'm Patrick Henningsen, your host. This is the Sunday Wire. Stay with us in Overdrive. We've got a couple of great guests. We're going to continue this conversation and go even deeper on the prospect of a false flag, because the U.S. needs a trigger to get in to the war on the side of Israel, to bomb Iran. And what would be better than a false flag, especially one on U.S. soil or against, quote, U.S. interests or some, or, the hundreds or thousands of U.S. military installations around the world. Everything's a potential target for, mythical sleeper cells. Is that the way it's going to be? Well, we see a lot of people hyping this up in the media, and we'll talk about that, especially with Hesher, who is well-versed in this particular topic. But stay with us. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
For in the final analysis, we all inhabit this small planet, and we are all mortal.
Lately I've been watching the world gone mad. Brothers and sisters full to take a stand, to hate their fellow man, another man. Divide and conquer is the acronym plan. Distract the people, control the story. Don't believe your lying eyes, you know me. Stay in power no matter what. Playing with a doomsday clock. Turn a blind eye and gather your trust. Pushing us to turn to good. Corruption and lies atrocity, no accountability, perpetual impunity.